Good morning. I am Lili Sukianti. I would like to discuss with you about a journal. The title was ESOL Teacher Candidates Identity Negotiation Through Teacher Education Coursework. First, I would like to inform you about the background of the study. There has been a rapid and cost-effective growth in public school enrollments of the linguistically and culturally diverse student population in the US. Many of whom are English learners, ELL. ELL is a term used in some English-speaking countries, such as the US and Canada, to describe a person who is learning the English language and has a native language that is not English. These students as a non-native English speakers or emerging bilinguals. So, English language learners are in the process of learning English and they need to be linguistically and supported to access and learn academic content. So, DLL's preparation for the challenging job in formal pre-service teacher education programs is an important factor in their professional growth, gaining necessary pedagogical knowledge and competence, and the important thing is constructing teacher identities. Because as we know that DLLs need go through a process of transition from being a graduate student to being an ESOL practitioner in part through their experiences in teacher education coursework and the teaching internship. They need to learn many different roles and responsibilities depending on the implementation of ELL programs and policies, which makes this transition even more important. So, the examining teacher candidates' identity during their TEPS experience could provide significant insights into their preparation and growth. And then, ESOL teachers' identity constructions needs prominent attention in research. This study have objective to understand the ways in which the three ESOL teacher candidates engage in teacher identity negotiation in teacher education course. And then this has a question. The question is, how do three ESOL teacher candidates negotiate and construct their emerging teacher identities through teacher education course during their preparation in a ESOL program? And then the study contributes that the results are expected to offer some insights, evidential, and suggestions that language teacher education programs should integrate identity as an explicit pursuit in its practices. And then the research also at the literature review is about teacher learning and identity. There is a correlation between teacher learning and identity. As we know from a social perspective, teacher learning for teacher candidate is long-term and complex developmental process because it is a result of participation in social practice and context related to learning and teaching, thus establishing the identity of teacher candidates. As results, before entering the pre-service teacher education, they have constructed a strongly held views about teaching and learning. They make sense of theories of learning and teaching and all their experience through these frames and construct their personal pedagogical knowledge. And then when they enter the full-time teachers, they implement knowledge and social experience in practice in various teaching contexts with own demands and dynamics. And this is a challenging part for a teacher, how they are able to position themselves as teacher who are able to make classroom learning run effectively. The student can achieve learning goals with series of interesting and fun learning activity. So this phenomenon was a very interest for scholars to do research. And then research in teacher education has demonstrated the importance of teacher identity not only in the teaching learning process, but also in the way teachers conduct their teaching practice, which correlates with their identity. So the scholars conceptualizing the identity of L2 teachers needs to be considered in types. And then it found in fact that teacher candidates enter types with their prior experiences, belief, value, aspirations, imagination about teaching and learning, which provide a dynamic basis for their initial teaching identities. And then about teacher identity in teacher education coursework. Of course, the teacher candidates use and promoted L2 teacher candidates' identity to renegotiate and reconstruct their multi-competence, language, knowledge, and etc. during joining the coursework. So it could be increased on individual mental development, social transformation, and emancipation on pedagogical practice. And some scholars found that the teacher candidate identities guided some interactions with others in the activity during coursework. And it also found that the coursework was a place for developing their theory in teaching to practice. It helps them to prepare as a true teacher in the class. This study used method a qualitative case study, and then the participants are 6 teacher candidates enrolled in the EMP, and then the data collections was through semi-structured interview, and then classroom observation and document analysis. The researcher interviewed 3 teacher candidates. They are Zhu, Elizabeth, and Leslie. And then the researchers do analysis based some researchers' findings, other researchers' findings, I mean. And then next about a finding in this research. Findings. The data analysis led to the interpretation that Zhu, Elizabeth, and Leslie subjectively negotiated their teacher identities during their teacher education coursework experiences in 3 main ways. First, they positioned themselves as an ESOL teacher through asynchronous online and face-to-face course discussions, assignments, and activities. The second, they engage in professional interaction with teacher educators and other emerging teachers. And then the last, the professors and other teacher candidates capitalize on their simultaneous school experience as valuable resource in the teacher learning community. And then I will show you the finding for the first finding and then I will show you based on the observation and interview results. The first one, Sue implies how preparing a lesson plan for her language assessment class led her to think about language differently. This means that how the lesson plan assessment requires the teacher's candidates to think about the needs and objectives of her learning ELS. So she also should think about the materials, the tool, methodology, assessment, evaluation, and etc. to reach the goals of ELL. In addition, the experience of learning teacher candidates in the online intercultural communication course supports her positioning as an ESOL teacher who will be working with culturally and linguistically in diverse ELLs. And then the second, Elizabeth's comment in online conversation or discussion exhibits how she took on an ESOL professional positions. In this finding is or in the post about parental involvement in ELS education, the teacher candidate framed herself in the position of an ELL teacher who took into account not only ELL's parents' expectation, but also the students' academic and life goals when presenting the content to ELLs. Elizabeth highlighted the significance of parents' academic expectation for their children and ELL's prior education background, and then ELL's own academic goals. And then in her understanding of ELL education, this variable influence ELL teachers' main goal and responsibility of making content accessible to ELLs, and then it proved that teaching ELS as an effort to strike a balance between component of ELL's education and life. And then the third, in developing teaching methodology, the three teacher candidates prefer to encourage their students' culture, background, and needs. It can show how Elizabeth's comment in online conversation with the parents and the students to encourage the parent academics expectation for the children, and then encourage education background, and then to make a goal academics. And then for they engage in professional interaction with teacher educators and other emerging teachers. Based on the observations and interview, it found that the three teacher candidates frequently shared ideas and resources and assisted one another when needed. These discussions are typically a place for teacher candidates to draw all their beliefs about teaching, challenge, and internalize theoretical course content, make meaning out of it, and benefit from their peers as a result. It means that this aids insight, confidence, and solve problems in teaching. It also, through those conversations, ESOL teacher candidate relies on their involving teacher beliefs, thinkings, and emotions about serving ELS, and then it's influenced and or influenced by the reflexive position and identity contraction. So, from the professor and other teacher candidates capitalize on their simultaneous school experience as valuable resource in the teacher learning community. It finds that in involvement of the three teacher candidates in teaching practice through their practical experience provides a certain experience that encourages their legitimacy as participants. Then the teacher candidate's professor took note of the teacher candidate public school experience at EMP. The teacher candidate's professor ensured that every discussion group in her class had at least one teacher candidate from the EMP so that they could provide other classmates with relevant input based on their school experience. So, conclusion from these results, this study yielded significant insights into the three ESOL teacher candidates learning to teach ELLs and identity negotiation during their teacher education course. And then this study suggests that TAPS should use teacher identity as a framework when designing teacher preparation activities. And then the last, TAPS can regulate L2 teacher education activities to explicitly promote the goal of teacher identity construction as a central part of teacher preparation and growth. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Bye.